Have you ever walked into a crowded room and felt like the entire world was suddenly pressing against your skin? The flashing lights, the overlapping voices, and the endless movement aren't just background noise to you. They feel like a physical weight, a chaotic storm that demands every ounce of your focus just to stay standing. You look around and see people laughing, clinking glasses, and thriving in the very environment that is draining your battery to zero. In those moments, a small, persistent voice in your mind might whisper that something is wrong with you. Maybe you've told yourself that you're too fragile, too antisocial, or simply not built for the modern world. You watch others navigate the chaos with ease, and you wonder why you feel like you are drowning in a sea of sensory input. But I am here to tell you that your diagnosis of yourself is fundamentally incorrect. What you have been taught to see as a weakness is actually the hallmark of a highly sophisticated processing system. You are not broken, and you are certainly not failing at being a social human being. You are experiencing the world with a depth that most people will never understand. While the majority of the population moves through life in a blur of surface level interactions, your mind is capturing the fine details. You're not just hearing words, you're feeling the intentions behind them. You are not just seeing a crowd, you are absorbing the collective emotional energy of every person in that space. This isn't a lack of social skill, it is an abundance of perception. Behind that feeling of exhaustion is a rare and powerful capability that 80% of the world wishes they possessed. Today, we are going to stop apologizing for your need for silence and start understanding the biological genius of your solitude. We are going to deconstruct the science of your sensitivity and show you how to transform it from a burden into your greatest asset. Because in a world that never stops shouting, the person who knows how to listen to the silence is the one who truly holds the power. To understand why crowds feel like a battlefield, we have to look at the hardware inside your skull. Most people have a built-in gatekeeper in their brain called the thalamus. Think of the thalamus as a high-tech security filter that decides which information gets to reach your conscious mind. In a typical brain, the thalamus is excellent at slamming the door on irrelevant data. It ignores the hum of the air conditioner, the distant traffic, and the flickering of a fluorescent light. It allows people to focus on one conversation while the rest of the world fades into a gray, unimportant background. But in your brain, that thalamic gate doesn't just stay open. It is almost entirely non-existent. Your filter is permeable, meaning that every single data point in your environment is granted entry. When you walk into a shopping mall, you aren't just shopping. You are processing the architecture, the lighting, and the micro expressions of 100 strangers. You are hearing the subtle tension in a couple's argument 3 aisles away. You are sensing the hidden anxiety of the cashier who is trying to force a smile. Your brain is working 10 times harder than the person standing next to you because it refuses to ignore the truth of the environment. This constant influx of data leads to what psychologists call sensory overload, but it's more accurate to call it a high-fidelity experience. You are a biological sponge, and your nervous system is wired to absorb the emotional climate of any room you enter. This is driven by a highly active network of mirror neurons. These neurons are responsible for empathy, allowing us to mirror the feelings and actions of others. In your case, these neurons are hypersensitive, firing with an intensity that makes other people's emotions feel like your own. If the room is full of stress, your heart rate begins to climb without you even knowing why. If there is a hidden conflict beneath the surface of a family dinner, you feel the headache forming before anyone has even raised their voice. You are an emotional intuitive, capable of reading the unspoken language of the human condition. It is no wonder you feel exhausted after an hour of social interaction. You haven't just been talking, you have been performing a massive computational task of emotional mapping. But there is a reason evolution preserved this trait in the human gene pool. It is a concept known as Vantage Sensitivity. Science shows that individuals with this level of sensitivity don't just suffer more in bad environments. they flourish significantly more in good ones. When you're in a quiet, supportive, and beautiful space, your brain processes the positive input with the same intensity it uses for the negative. You experience art, music, and deep conversation at a level of transcendence that others can't reach. You see patterns where others see chaos, and you find meaning in the smallest fragments of life. This sensitivity is your vantage point, a high ground perspective that allows you to see the world in high definition. The reason you hate crowds is often misunderstood as a fear of people, but it is actually a hunger for authenticity. In large groups, the human ego tends to take over, and people begin to wear social masks. They perform, they compete, and they engage in what we call small talk. To a highly sensitive mind, small talk feels like starving while being forced to look at plastic food. Your brain is literally not wired to find pleasure in superficial exchanges. You're looking for the soul of the person you're talking to, not their weather report or their job title. When you're surrounded by hundreds of people performing social scripts, your mind becomes fatigued by the lack of depth. You crave solitude because solitude is the only place where the masks come off and the truth can breathe. This is also linked to your internal dopamine threshold. Extroverts often have a low sensitivity to dopamine, meaning they need a constant stream of external stimulation to feel alive. They need the noise, the movement, and the social validation to kickstart their reward system. But you are the opposite. You have a very high sensitivity to dopamine, which means you produce your own internal reward through deep thought and reflection. Too much external stimulation overloads your system, like pouring too much fuel into a small, high-performance engine. You don't need the crowd to feel energized because your internal world is already a vibrant, bustling city of ideas. Your solitude isn't a void that needs to be filled. It is a laboratory where your best work is done. Many of the greatest breakthroughs in history came from people who understood that silence is not empty, but full of answers. If you find yourself constantly retreating, it's not because you are running away from life. It's because you are returning to the only place where your brain can finally render the complex thoughts it has been building. Think of your mind like a high-end computer rendering a complex 3D world. The more background tasks you have running, the slower the main process becomes. Crowds are a series of endless, demanding background tasks that steal your processing power. Solitude is the act of closing those tabs so you can focus on the masterpiece. So, how do you live in a world that is designed for the loud and the fast? How do you protect this vantage sensitivity without becoming a hermit? The first step is to adopt the greenhouse strategy. A greenhouse is a place of intense growth, but it only works because of its glass walls. The walls let in the light, but they keep out the destructive winds and the freezing cold. You must become the architect of your own emotional greenhouse. This means being ruthless about who and what you allow into your inner circle. You have to recognize that your energy is a finite, precious resource, not an infinite well for others to drink from. If a person or an environment consistently leaves you feeling depleted rather than nourished, you have a biological obligation to set a boundary. This is where the pause protocol comes in. Highly sensitive people often feel an immediate pressure to say yes to social invitations because they can feel the other person's expectation. You feel the potential disappointment of the other person before they even feel it themselves. To combat this, you must implement a mandatory delay. From now on, your default response to any social request is, "Let me check my schedule and my energy, and I will get back to you." This simple sentence is your shield. It breaks the cycle of immediate emotional contagion and gives your logical brain time to catch up. During that pause, ask yourself, will this event nourish my greenhouse, or will it shatter the glass? It is okay to say no to the party so that you can say yes to your own mental health. Setting boundaries is not an act of aggression. It is an act of self-respect. The world might tell you that you are missing out, but you're actually opting into a higher quality of life. You are choosing the deep, meaningful connection over the loud, hollow noise. You are choosing the empty cafe at 7 a.m. over the crowded bar at midnight. You are choosing the long walk in the woods over the chaotic networking event. And in those, don't let the world convince you that being quiet is the same as being invisible. Some of the most powerful forces in nature are the ones that make the least noise. Think of the way a forest grows, or the way the tide pulls the entire ocean. They don't shout, yet they change the face of the earth. Your presence, when you are grounded and energized, has a weight and a depth that can ground everyone around you. When you stop trying to be a loud version of someone else, you become a powerful version of yourself. You are a silent observer, a deep thinker, and a guardian of the quiet places. The world desperately needs your perspective right now. It needs people who can see past the noise and find the signal. It needs people who value empathy over ego and meaning over movement. So the next time you feel that energy drop in a crowded room, don't get angry at yourself. Just recognize that your high-fidelity sensors are doing exactly what they were designed to do. They are telling you that the environment is beneath your frequency. Smile at the chaos, and then give yourself permission to leave. Go back to your greenhouse, refill your mind, process the data, and when you're ready, come back and share the insights that only someone with your depth could find. Your silence isn't a wall. It's a bridge to a more conscious way of living. You aren't avoiding life. You're protecting the very thing that makes your life worth living. Peace is not a luxury for you. It is a necessity for your survival. And you have every right to claim it. If you spent your life feeling like an outsider because you prefer the quiet, I want you to know you've found your community here. We are the ones who understand that a room full of people can be the loneliest place on earth, and a room full of books can be the most crowded. We are the ones who know that the best conversations happen in the pauses between words. If this message resonated with you, please share your story in the comments. Tell me about the moments where you found strength in your solitude. Tell me how you've built your own greenhouse. Your words might be the very thing someone else needs to hear to stop feeling broken. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We go deeper into the psychology of the human mind every single day, exploring the parts of ourselves that the world usually ignores. By joining this community, you're helping us build a space where sensitivity is celebrated as a superpower. You are not alone in your love for being alone. We are all here, quietly changing the world, one deep thought at a time. Protect your peace, value your silence, and remember, you are exactly who you were meant to be. I will see you in the next one.